Oh, live stream. All right, are we ready to go?
In just a second, I'll do a quick introduction of myself and as well as the session, and then I'll turn it over to both of you, or all of you. Let me rephrase that. All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Gretchen and I'm with Kale. I'm the Director of Administrative Services here. And we're so glad that you've joined us for today's session, which is Combining Degrees and Microcredentials for Adult Student Success. Before we get started, I'd like to share a couple of quick housekeeping tips. Attendees are muted, but please introduce yourself and meet fellow attendees in the chat box. With that, I'd like to welcome Kim and her team to today's session.
All right, so we're going to get things going. Thank you very much for kicking us off, Gretchen. We appreciate it. So I'm Shonda Gibson. I'm the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs with the Texas A&M University System, and also serve as the Chief Transformation Officer. We have 12 universities across the state of Texas. We do a wide variety of innovative and transformative projects and initiatives, and today we're going to be talking to you about one of those, which is about a project that we have underway where we are embedding microcredentials and certifications into academic courses and programs. And today we've got two of our universities with us who will give you a deep dive into the work that they have underway. So I think we'll get started with, I think next slide, on how we approached setting up this project. So it was really important to us that as we brought in microcredentials and started looking at how would we embed these, that we really focused on that strategically, not just sticking a flyer up on a wall in the library and hoping that students would find magic time in their schedules to be able to do this, because we really felt like it was super important to their success that we find a way to really make this very intentional, very strategic. And so you'll see that's the number one point here, is that we're very committed to student success and helping the students to have access to these experiences so that they are better prepared for their future. And as I mentioned, it is a highly embedded experience, so that we want these things to be combined with a degree to add on to the power of a degree, plus these additional certifications and microcredentials, so that when they move into industry or whatever next stage in their career, they actually have tangible evidence that they have knowledge about this area, but they also have some skills and competencies and can demonstrate that they've actually engaged in this space. And that leads us to the final one, which is full alignment to these workforce expectations. And so that we're really building on that idea that that we want to be strategic in the way that we empower our students to find success in their future. So I think we're going to move to the next slide, and we're going to talk about that workforce trend.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so as mentioned, we were very specific in looking at how microcredentials aligned with degree programs, but also prepared students for what is demanded in the workforce for jobs, so that they left our programs with a degree and a microcredential, that combination of both being very powerful in preparing them for broad education and knowledge, and then also specific industry recognized skills. And we base this on what we're hearing around from employers and within higher ed, that employers are seeking candidates who can demonstrate verified competencies and skills, along with the problem-solving ability and the soft skills that they get in their academic degrees. Coursera produces quite a bit of content in this area. They're routinely scanning the landscape in terms of what's happening with microcredentials, what's happening in the workforce, what does workforce demand look like. Excellent report. The most recent one for 2025 was a Coursera Microcredentials Impact Reports. On the next screen, I want to show you a few pieces of information from that most recent report. So This information here discusses specifically how university leaders view microcredentials and the job prospects for students. You can see some pretty big numbers on that screen that 97% of leaders say that microcredentials can strengthen students' long-term career outcomes. They also are useful for alumni and faculty. And today, when you hear from our colleagues at two of our institutions, you will hear about how their faculty have used the microcredentials for their own professional development and staying up to date in their fields. They also can help institutions meet students or help students meet job demands in terms of being able to signal to employers that they not only have a degree, but they have these industry recognized skills and competencies that immediately prepare them to enter the workforce and to have an impact. And then finally, the feedback from students. Coursera's report shows that students also see the worth. So it's not just the institution, it's not just the faculty, it's not just the program, it's not just the employer. Students also feel the impact of what these microcredentials can teach them, how they augment their education, and then what they're seeing when they enter the workforce. And I know that within this presentation, you're also going to get to see some student responses to what they have had access to from our various initiatives within the A&M system. So with that, I am going to turn it over, and you're going to hear from West Texas A&M and the good work they've done with integrating microcredentials into their academic degree programs.
All right, thank you, Kim and Shonda. So what I'm going to do for my portion is just take you through how we got started into credentialing, especially through Coursera, which is the platform that we're using. And then I'm going to take you through some numbers, some metrics, as well as some student comments that we've received in terms of the success of this program. So it's been about a year and a half, and we applied for a pilot program that was hosted through the Texas A&M University system. And so they offered for all of the colleges of business within the Texas A&M system to apply for this pilot program, which essentially would give licenses to those colleges of business that were accepted into the program, 1,000 licenses towards Coursera's Career Academy catalog. And so Coursera is much larger than just the Career Academy, but they have thousands and thousands of certifications and courses and videos and projects that people in the industry as well as students can work on to earn professional certifications. And so we were accepted into this pilot program, and it also aligned with our strategic plan for our 5-year strategic plan for the Paul and Virginia Engler College of Business. So we launched this in the summer of 2024, and that was the first year of the pilot program from the summer of 2024 to the summer of 2025. And so what we did was we essentially just opened it up to the faculty and staff of the College of Business to integrate these Coursera certifications in any way they saw fit. So if it related to a course that they were teaching and there was a section or a course within a larger professional certification that aligned with their course, they could integrate that one course. Some professors chose to, like myself, chose to have students work on an entire professional certification that had several courses and modules within that, because for me, I wanted the students to actually have the entire certification at the end of the semester. Some professors would integrate it as extra credit. Some professors would implement it as if maybe a student had a missing assignment. They would allow them to integrate something related to the assignment that Coursera offered to make up for the missing assignment. So there were very flexible ways that the faculty used to embed these micro-credentials into their coursework. And again, it was up to faculty if they wanted to do it or not. But the majority of our faculty used Coursera in one way or another. And what that did for us and for the students is the second bullet point, it gave them hands-on skill building opportunities. And so if you You don't have to look at it right now, but where it says showcase skills, if you click on that link, you will see a portfolio of one of our marketing students. And she is showing to potential employers how she used Coursera to earn certifications within the marketing field. So she earned a certification in Google digital marketing and e-commerce. And then she earned another certification through another brand. And so she showcased those on her portfolio, which is really important because we always tell students, just put the most important information on your portfolio. And so those two Coursera certifications and micro-credentials, she wanted to show off, to show potential employers, I can learn, and I do learn outside of the classroom, and I want to keep up with my professional development. So Coursera gives them hands-on skill building opportunities. And then the third, flexible stackable credentials. If you see the word portfolio there in blue, you can click on that link as well. And that takes you to another student's portfolio who has graduated and moved on to Duke. He was a computer information systems and decision management major. And so he used Coursera to help him build his portfolio and skills in cybersecurity and building websites and things of that nature. So he listed all of those certifications on his portfolio too. So again, these certifications show potential employers or students who want to get internships, show them that they have skills beyond just what they're learning in the classroom. And so that is our model. And so I'm going to move on to the next slide that shows the metrics from the first year of the pilot program. Right now we are in year 2 of the pilot program. So thankfully the system extended this program so we could continue to offer this to students, which was really great because at the end of our first year, students were asking me, can I still use this? Is this program going to continue? And so thankfully it is continuing into this year. But for our first year, so from July of 2024 to June of 2025, we had 1,000 licenses through Coursera's Career Academy. And so we had college-wide integration. So in accounting, economics, and finance, management, marketing, general business, and computer information and decision management, at least one class in all of those disciplines used Coursera, but it was typically multiple classes that were using Coursera. So we had college-wide integration. Over that year, there was almost 13,000 total hours that learners used on the platform, averaging almost 12 hours per learner. We had 2,514 course completions, meaning that even if it was a larger professional certification and maybe they just completed one course out of that larger one, they got a certification. So essentially, learners got 2,514 certifications. Guided projects, 717 guided projects were earned. So guided projects are they are less time intensive as the professional certificates are. So the guided projects are more practical in nature, where the students will learn in 1 or 2 hours how to complete something. So students really gravitated towards that. But overall, this last year, 200 plus professional certifications were earned, and that ran the gamut again of disciplines. We had cybersecurity certifications earned, marketing certifications earned, a lot of Excel certifications earned. So the list goes on and on. And then on the next slide, I'll show you some learner feedback that aligns with some of the stats that Kim had already mentioned. So at different points in time, we will ask the students to give us feedback on Coursera and what they're learning and how it is impacting their careers or their schooling. So several students mentioned the impact that Coursera is having on their careers or their future careers. So it enhances their resumes, it boosted their confidence, It's also helped them figure out, is this the job path I want to take, or should I go in another direction? So the practical, realistic nature of these certifications has helped students guide them along the path that they want to go along. Also, learning and skill development, we saw this theme over and over in our feedback. So they really praise the relevant and high quality content of the certifications. They like the industry branded content from Google and Meta, Microsoft. So they really, really latch on to those programs as well. And then this quote was really, really impactful for us. This student was really, really grateful to have been given the opportunity for this pilot program, and then also mentioned how much value there is and hopes that this pilot program would continue in the future, which again, it has for this next year. So I'm going to give you an update on year 2 in the next slide and where we are right now. So right now, again, year 2 of the pilot program started in July of 2025 to the present. So right now we're looking at, and Coursera, what's great about Coursera is they will email every week data about where we are on our hours, how many completions there are. So this has actually increased since the time that I have put these slides together. But we're averaging total hours around 3,000 hours that students have spent just this semester alone. So a little under 8 hours per learner. And then so far we've had 486 completions. Now, again, we are in the midst of the semester right now. So we know that that number is going to increase, especially as we get towards December once courses end. And then the next slide, before I turn it over to Leslie, I'm teaching a class right now. It's a Principles of Marketing class, and I wanted to integrate Coursera into this class. And in my Principles of Marketing class, I have majors from all over. I have accounting majors, finance majors, computer information majors. I also have marketing management majors. So it is a wide swath of students in this class. And so what I wanted to teach them is how marketing aligns with each of their disciplines, because I don't know that they always understand that marketing is a part of everything else. So anyway, what we did in that class is they are allowed to pick certification, and they have to earn the professional certification by the end of this semester that aligns with their career. And then every 2 weeks, I ask for their feedback in terms of what are you learning from your certification that also ties into marketing. Other questions that I have asked them, which these are some answers from the students right now, is what motivated you to pursue your certification and what's the experience been like so far? So you can see that some of these comments are saying, I wanted to be in this particular field. I needed some skills. I need to retool on some of these skills. And so this specific certification is what motivated me to want to take it so I could improve on those skills. And you can see that theme over and over and over in these comments. And the good news is also they have enjoyed it. And it has really brought to life in my classes ways that we can talk about marketing in a different way and from different angles. And that's all because I was able to integrate Coursera into my class. So it's really made our conversations more lively. So I'm going to toss it over to Leslie. And I think you're going to hear from me again in just a minute. Leslie.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Leslie Mills. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Success at Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi is part of another pilot program that the A&M system is hosting. So across all of the A&M system schools, we are partnering in a pilot program with NASH and had received 500 license to access Grow with Google. And so this is also ran through Coursera, but for this pilot program, we were given, each campus was given 500 seats to allow students to begin to access Grow with Google certifications. At the beginning, we started with 11 certifications. Today, we're up to 19 additional certifications that have been added. There have been additional certifications that have been added throughout this past year. But this program started for us in January of 2025. So we are just coming up on a year in this program. We didn't get access to the license until about January, mid-January. And so we spent a lot of our spring semester in 2025 really beginning to think about how do we advertise these to our students? How do we integrate these into our curriculum? Can you go ahead and go to the next slide? One thing that was important for us is we know our student population. For many of our students, we're a campus of about 12,000. We have a lot of first generation college students, but we have a lot of students who identify themselves as parent or worker before they identify themselves as students. In fact, a Trellis report that we just did on financial wellness of our students, 32% reported that they worked 40 hours or more, and 41% reported working 20 to 39 hours. So this is important to us because we know a couple of things. One, that our students, they have a limited time to spend on their things outside of courses because of their juggling responsibilities. We also know it's important for our students when it comes to micro-credentials and this kind of power of and, is that our students would understand that they can combine a micro-credential with a degree, so that if a student needed to stop out for any reason, and while that's not ideal situation for us, we know it's a reality, they at least would stop out with a certification or a micro-credential. Or if a student needed to get a job full-time while they're attending classes, this can enable them to have an extra certification to enable them to get a better job while they're completing their courses with us. And so this is one reason why having students work on micro-credentials throughout their curriculum and while they're our students is really important and helps them ensure that they have both what the employers and the workforce is needing, as well as the things that we are teaching our students in the classroom. You can go ahead and go forward. Some things that we've done over this last year, and as I mentioned, we are less than a year in the pilot program, but some things that we started with. So we have begun to look at how do we integrate this into the curriculum. Currently, we have 31 faculty members who are from various colleges exploring how they can integrate these courses into and certifications into their programs and courses. We have some faculty who are looking at how do I add a module or two from the certifications into my coursework that align with my student learning outcomes. And we have other academic programs that are looking at how do we align multiple modules from a certification into my program so that when a student graduates with my degree, they have that degree as well as this micro-credential. One thing to note about the Grow with Google certifications, for those of you who may not be familiar, they can be quite lengthy. Some of these certifications with Grow with Google are upwards of 180, 160 hours. And so being able to integrate those into the curriculum, even if it's just a few modules, will give the students a head start and a kickstart on working towards those micro-credentials. The good news is, and one thing that I think will help boost these integrations in the near future, is we did have the addition of several specializations that are much shorter in length with Grow with Google. So these are sort of specializations that have 8 to 20 hours maybe per certification. So that's going to enable us to ensure faculty don't see it as daunting and to integrate, as well as students not seeing it as daunting to complete a certification. Because I think that 8 hours is very doable for a student. 20 hours is even doable, but for that, for a student, that 180 could be quite lengthy. We've had some faculty members, for instance, are within the College of Business. We've had faculty members integrate the AI essentials and prompting for AI, which were important credentials that Grow with Google were adding as we are looking at how do we become better educated and ensure our students have the skills needed as AI has become a big part of our everyday lives. One other area, we have a program called our Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences. This is a program that does tend to have some of our non-traditional learners, some of our adult learners in the program. And that program has students develop a skill throughout this semester in their capstone course. And so the Grow with Google certifications was one skill that they were promoting students, particularly the AI and prompting for AI, since they were shorter. Now with this new specialization areas that have been added, they're shorter credentials. There's going to be a better, a more expansive list for students to accomplish in a shorter period of time, like a semester length. So that's some of the faculty integration that's happening. And in fact, right before here, I was presenting to a group of faculty about integrating into their curriculum. So definitely a lot of interest from faculty on that standpoint. One thing that we have noticed is that not only are faculty seeing the value of these micro-credentials, but our students really see it themselves and have actually self-selected to sign up for these credentials, micro-credentials on their own. So while this pilot program was one area was the curriculum integration, one area we used was promoting it through our Career and Professional Development Center here on campus. And so through that promotion, we were able to offer students an opportunity, something to do during the summer if they weren't able to do an internship. And so this summer campaign kicked off last summer. This was our really first initial campaign we did for these certifications. And we just told students this was a way to kickstart their summer. We did some social media publicity. We did some email campaigns, some outreach to student groups, and just really encouraging students that this was a really good opportunity, that if they didn't have a summer internship and they needed something to do while they were, not maybe taking classes during the summer or taking less classes during the summer, this was a great opportunity to build their professional development, build their resume, gain additional skills that employers were looking for. We're going to do a similar campaign this winter coming in December. We'll do a launch and complete a certificate in a certain amount of time prior to coming back to classes in January, and they'll be entered in an opportunity to win a raffle for some prizes. And so that is a winter campaign that's coming up. The summer campaign was very successful, so we're going to do some of that winter campaign again. But the big takeaway there was that this wasn't faculty telling students to complete the micro-credentials. This wasn't anyone telling the students that they had to as part of a class. It was students realizing that this is going to be a valuable resource to help me stand apart from all other applicants when we look at when I look at jobs and go into the job market. And some things we've been trying to really note with our liberal arts and others, humanities students and whatnot, are, just the advantages a micro-credential can lend for them. Google had shared some statistics. An English and literature major who acquired a project management degree, they were seeing an increase in their entry-level salary by 29%. That's huge. History and data analytics or data analysis, that was increasing a salary by 38%. So these were increases that students then began to see that I may graduate with an English degree or a psychology degree or history degree, but if I had this micro-credential plus that degree, that's going to show the employers and the workforce that I have the skills needed to go into those positions and those roles. So that was a really important push, and our students saw the value in that. We are continuing some faculty and staffing development and engagement this winter, and we'll be piloting a program in January when faculty and staff return from the winter break. We're going to do some AI boot camps. AI Learn-a-thon, I think, is maybe the title we've landed on. And we're going to set aside some time for faculty and staff to come into a computer lab. We're going to designate 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon on 2 different days where they can come in and just focus on creating or completing an AI essentials or a prompting essentials certification. They could do others as well, but those two are about 8 hours each. And so feasibly, an individual could come both days and complete one of those certifications during that time period. We'll do some fun raffles and giveaways and activities throughout the event. But the idea was we all have great intentions of completing some of this on our own. And I know I embarrassed to say how long it probably took me to complete the AI essentials because I kept getting distracted. My team's message would pop up or other things would happen in the office. And so we're just going to give some designated time for faculty and staff to complete these credentials at the beginning of this semester. Our hopes are to kind of pilot with this population and then look at what a similar project or program would look like later in the spring for our students, maybe giving them a week and doing some activities throughout the week and calling it an AI, learn-a-thon where they have opportunities to get entered again into some raffles and prizes if they complete a certification. And then overall, just our staff have really taken an interest in these. When we first launched, especially this summer when we had less students on campus, we really were promoting these as our staff as opportunities for staff to complete different courses and gain some professional development in various areas. One thing I found interesting was a huge portion of our faculty, or rather our staff, were doing the AI, but we had 18 staff members who completed courses towards the project management certification, and then data analysis is another that was one that staff were really interested in. I'm excited to see these new shorter certificates and specializations that Google has added. I think we're going to see a very big increase in the number of interest from staff and in these areas, because they are things like people management and agile essentials and making data-driven decisions, which are going to be very beneficial for many of our staff members across campus. Okay. And just to kind of let you know where we currently are with the program, like I said, we're not quite a year in. I'm excited for where we are currently and where we're headed. Right now, we have 271 individuals, faculty, staff, and students enrolled in a program. 248 of those have completed a course, and 229 are showing engagement, which means they're actively engaged in the platform and aren't sitting dormant. So that's exciting numbers for where we are and within this pilot. We still have a couple of years left to promote these items. I'm hoping, I was telling him today during my presentation, I was hoping to get a point where we have to monitor seats. The seats are like library books. So as a student or individual completes a cert, we can push them out and push a new individual in. So I'm hoping to get to a point where we get to monitor and I have to kick people out. We're not quite there yet, but I'm excited to see that we're on the right track to get there in the future. Some information or some quotes that students have reported. One particular student that we connected with for some marketing and communications launch that we did, but he had mentioned that he had secured an internship in summer of 2024, and he found himself without one in summer of 2025. And so he felt like this announcement in this summer project came at just the right time for him. He signed up for the Grow with Google project management certification, and he really got a lot out of it and gained some new skills, and he was excited for the opportunity. And again, that gave him the opportunity to not feel like he wasted his summer, but continued to gain those skills and build on his professional development and build his resume throughout the summer. So that was exciting. One thing that another student noted was a lot of people have degrees and minors, but what distinguishes you are the little things, certifications, license, and getting published. That's what employers notice. And so that was coming from a student perspective. They really felt like this was something that was going to be valued by
Speakers.
Looks like, yeah, it looks like Leslie got disconnected.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Mary Liz.
Okay, so One thing that I did want to touch on that Leslie was talking about was how students really want this. And although we at the College of Business, we are integrating it in our classes, in many of our classes, some classes that are not integrating it, students hear about it from other students, and then they also want to be a part of it. So word of mouth is a really big driver for us and students wanting to earn these micro credentials. But anyway, what we are leaving you with is how to design your own micro credential plan if you decide to integrate that in some way, whether it's Coursera or another micro credential. On this highlighted in blue, if you click on that, you will get an entire workbook that will drive you through how to create your own micro credential plan. But I'm just going to take you through a few steps. So Kim, next slide. Okay, so in terms of if you were to design your own micro-credential plan, obviously you want to identify a course or initiative that works. So for example, I'm going to touch back on that Principles of Marketing course that I'm teaching right now. Again, I wanted students to know, how does marketing touch all of their disciplines? So that was my initiative, to get them to not be siloed, but to come together to understand how all of this blends together. So that was the course I identified. Then the second step that you want to take is go to the micro-credential offerings. That is linked to Coursera's offerings if you wanted to look at those. But essentially what I will do is if I need to know, does Coursera offer something like this, and type in a subject, it typically will come up. So anything related to AI or marketing or advertising or graphic design or anything in my field, Coursera typically offers that. So that's how you want to filter the courses, is just to do a search and see what they offer that aligns with the course that you want to integrate it in. Then you want to choose the scale of integration. So do you want to do extra credit? Do you want the students to go through the entire semester and end with a full professional certification? Or do you want them to just take one course to get their feet wet? And then you just go ahead and plan your integration. So on the next slide, what you want to do is get a student adoption strategy as part of your plan. So again, you want to consider some incentive models, which I've already talked about. One thing that really worked for us, and something that it sounds like Leslie, that they are also doing, is offering actual tangible incentives and prizes for students and people who finish certifications, whether it's the guided projects or a course or what have you. So that again really, really helps to get people to engaged in this program. And then once they see what it's all about, sky's the limit for them, and they want to continue on with this process. And then you want to get ideas from other people, from your colleagues, and see how they are integrating it. That's what's been great about our pilot program, is that we've been able to gather ideas from the various stakeholders who are in this program with us. And then the next slide, one thing that we are trying to do and want to do more of is attach these certifications and students with employers and employer partnerships that are specific to the discipline. So for example, right here, we've identified that Google Digital Marketing and E-commerce is a certification that both a student in marketing and perhaps an industry professional within the American Advertising Federation organization, they could work on together and earn this certification together and learn from each other, which then gives the students a partner and a point of contact for whenever they graduate and want to get into that specific field. So that's something else that you might want to think through if you decide you're going to integrate micro credentials. And so again, you have that workbook. If you click on the design your own micro credentials, that should be accessible to you to use at your will. And so Kim, I'll toss it back over to you.
Okay, so just to wrap us up, and I think we've got a couple of more slides after this, but we really hope you're getting a sense of how these two institutions in various ways have utilized micro-credentials, layered them onto the degree program, also offered micro-credentials in co-curricular ways. Also, that while a student is on our campus earning a degree, they can combine that degree with the specific industry recognized skills that we're offering through these micro-credential opportunities. So aligning our higher education and workforce demands so that we can assure that our students get the most out of their time with us. Let me see if I can advance my slide. Okay, we've got a final reflection poll, and I think Mary Liz, you were going to step us through that. You got a couple of slides after?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Do you want me to-
Gretchen, I know we were going to have some questions perhaps at the end, so we're just going to flip it on them. We have a couple of questions that we have. And so the first one is, in which of the three areas are you most likely to implement micro credentials in the next 6 months? So would it be A, faculty and staff integration, student incentives, mentorship, or hopefully all of them? And then the second question, and people can answer these at the same time. The second question that we have is if the attendees will type into the chat box perhaps one idea of how they can integrate micro credentialing into their organizations or courses. So that's a couple of questions that we wanted to poll the audience and see what they had.
Yeah, so we'll pause a moment and give everyone time to answer those questions in the chat. And then I know that Mary Liz and Leslie will be able to reflect on those and maybe share some insights.
Yeah, it'd be great if you respond to those. Please put that in the chat and we'll keep the Q&A box for questions. All right, we're not getting any input in the chat at the moment. So I do have some Q&A questions. We can either go ahead and finish this discussion and move into those.
Yes, let's hear the Q&A questions.
Okay. The first one is from Wendy. Do the micro credentials or Coursera courses show up on your transcript? How is it noted that they are embedded into your credential?
So for us, no, it's not specifically showing up on their transcripts now. And some of that is because of the way it's integrated into a class. So one way that it would show up is we are teaching a special topics class where they are earning certifications as part of the class. That is the entire class. That's what it's all about. They have to earn 2 certifications throughout the semester. And so it will show up in terms of that being the class and the special topics and earning credit for that towards their degree, but it doesn't show on their Coursera or anything on the transcript like that.
Yeah, and for us, it also doesn't show up on the transcript. We've had some discussions about what that might look like in the future if that's something we decide to go, a path we decide to take. We are right now encouraging our students to put copies of the certifications on their LinkedIn profiles, and then really working with the Career and Professional Development Center about how to communicate those credentials on and micro credentials on their resumes for employers. And so walking them through how to put them on their resume and how to utilize them in their resume. And the big piece of it is helping them understand the value of those micro credentials so that they can speak to them in interviews and other areas such as that.
Yeah, similarly to Leslie, you know, I mentioned those portfolios that students put together. They showcase them on there as well.
I'll add to that for all of our micro-credential work right now, it's all delivered through the Coursera platform. When you complete a micro-credential, it walks you through how to claim the certificate through Credly so that you have that added piece of documentation that identifies those specific skills in that certification.
Okay, thank you for that. And then Jennifer asked, let's see, how are these courses notated? How are they reported? Course attributes, course numbering, etc.
We've had some conversations. Specifically, I've actually been talking with Leslie about this. Her school uses Banner for its student information system. And what we've been talking about is whether you would put that in as a course attribute, as a particular flag. If it's a note, you know how in Banner you can say whether like if it's going to meet on certain days or you know, something like that, how that might look. But I don't think we've had any of our A&M system schools yet really identify how to formalize that communication. And Leslie, I don't know if you can speak to any conversations you've had internally at your institution about that, or Mary Liz, if you guys have gone down that route yet.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of our next steps as we begin. I have one program who's interested in looking at, it's a master's level program, but they're interested in how do we integrate a certificate through all of the programs so that when they graduate, they have it through the program. And so that's going to be our next conversation is how do we identify that on the transcript for our students? And if that is something, you know, is it a not credit or, you know, not credit notation on their course. We've done some work before in how to transcribe non-credit internships. And so we may follow a similar path as that, but that's a conversation that's starting, but we aren't there yet.
Okay, and then Nicole said, could you provide a link to the slide deck? The links on the slides are not working. And actually, Nicole and everybody else on the right-hand side of your screen, under the chat, the Q&A, the polls, there's a resources tab. And within that is where you should be able to see the PDF of today's presentation.
Correct, but the
hopefully
PDF won't let you get into the live links that Dr. Brooks included. So I will need to upload a PowerPoint so that you can do that. I followed instructions for just doing the PDF, but I will correct that this afternoon.
Oh, okay, the links are broken in the PDF as well.
I believe so.
Okay, well, we will get
Based
that
on
update.
yeah, based on what your respondent is saying. So I can do a PowerPoint so that it's all live for them.
Okay. All right, and then it looks like we have one more question. How do faculty evaluate Coursera offerings to align with their curricula? Are there supports available, rubric skills, crosswalks? Are there mechanisms for faculty to see what their colleagues are using?
So for us, essentially each discipline is just communicating with each other about where Coursera can be implemented and how. So I know we've talked in some of our meetings with the Texas A&M system and this pilot program about maybe doing it more in a strategic way where we have several classes that are maybe stretching out one professional certification over several classes. We haven't done that yet. But anyway, yeah, it's really just discipline specific and those discipline program coordinators communicating with their faculty about where can this be integrated and how. And what makes the most sense? Again, is it just one course? Is it just a video? Is it the entire professional certification? So we don't have anything formulaic that can be adopted across disciplines. It's just discipline specific and how that works and looks for them.
And for the Grow with Google, there are educator guides that walks an educator through how it might be integrated into their curriculum. So there are samples of schedules. Educators have the ability to also, the nice thing about Coursera and the Grow with Google certs, we were just having a conversation of how they differ from maybe a LinkedIn Learning training. And I can be a very passive learner in LinkedIn Learning and just click play on a video and step back. in Grow with Google, there are videos, there's readings, there are assignments, there's assessments, there's sample projects, there's things that the individual is doing. And so there are grades that are tabulated and gathered. And so those also can be integrated. And in fact, we use Canvas. And so there's integration through Coursera and our LMS system, which has made it nice for faculty. And so really an easy way for faculty to integrate into their courses.
All right, and that is all the questions for today, as well as our time is just about on the money. So thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for today's speakers for a wonderful session.
Thank you.